Welcome to historic Wyandotte High School in Kansas City, Kansas. As tonight Metro Sports proud to present KCK League Boys High School basketball, a big-time rivalry as Washington takes on the Bulldogs of Wyandotte on a very special night here, as they'll be naming the gymnasium after their former coach, Walt Schublum. And the basketball floor going to be named after the longtime assistant, Donald Upson. As you see, the championship trophies being brought out by the current Bulldog players. And Doug, this is a very special night. Some names from the past, big name guys. Quite a dedication to a man that had quite a career here at Wyandotte High School.
Very well deserving.
Good evening, Wyandotte.
Let's check in now on the floor with the principal here at Wyandotte High School, Walter Thompson.
Bulldogs. Welcome to this fabulous and wonderful high school, home of the Bulldogs. It is my privilege and honor to be here this evening to welcome our honorees, faculty, staff, students, community members, family members of the honorees. Thank you for setting aside time on this very cold Friday and snowy evening as we take this opportunity to honor some very special people. Wyandotte High School has a glorious past and a promising future. The past accomplishments are, should I say, championships, provides inspiration for our current students. Tonight is a special night in which we have the splendid opportunity to dedicate our gymnasium. Thank you very much for coming. And now at this time, I would like to introduce Dr. Ray Daniels, Superintendent of Schools, who will then introduce Mrs. Gloria Willis, the board president.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Well, this is a wonderful evening for the Kansas City, Kansas School District and Wyandotte High School. And I don't know whether you know it or not, but what's really happening tonight, besides a celebration of excellence and commitment, this is a family reunion that's going on here this evening. I want to commend Mr. Thompson and Charlotte Davis, the Activities Director, for their wonderful work tonight. And there is a committee who has worked tirelessly on this evening, and I can't call you by name, but I know who you are, and I want to thank you very much for this evening. The Wyandotte program was truly a family commitment under Walt Schublum and Don Upson. As you can see by the turnout here this evening of the number of people that are here to pay tribute to those two great people. I want to thank you for being here. I want to say to the families of Walt Schublum and Don Upson, your commitment to excellence and your part in this are wonderful. So for Lil and Jean, thank you too for what you did in this program. And now I'd like to introduce to you the people who actually made this possible. The Kansas City, Kansas Board of Education organization that approved the evening and the dedication of the gymnasium. We have 3 board members with us here tonight. I'd like to introduce Mr. George Bridenthal. George, raise your hand. Mrs. Linda Pendleton over in the corner. And the president of your Board of Education for Kansas City, Kansas, Mrs. Gloria Willis. Gloria.
Thank you, Dr. Daniels. Good evening to all of you. It is a wonderful privilege that I have to greet you on behalf of the Board of Education. We want to say to the honoree, Mr. Walter Schublum, thank you so much for what you have done and continue to do for the students in the Kansas City, Kansas Public School District. As I read the information concerning the number of championships that you won as you were the coach and Mr. Upson, your assistant, I understand that out of 14 years, you won 11 championships for Wyandotte High School. Now, if my math is correct, 14 years from 1956 to 1970. Now you won 11, what happened to the other 3? In case you don't know, the other 3 years he won second place championship for Wyandotte High School. Again, congratulations. The late Don Upson and I had a working relationship because he served as supervisor of math while I worked in the district, and we served for many years on school board credit union, so I knew him very well. But I met you this evening. I am impressed. If you want another job in the district, come on back and we'll find one for you. Congratulations.
Thank you, Dr. Daniels, and thank you, Mrs. Willis. Would Dr. Swanson come to the center court, please? And Tom Cooley, would you come to the center court, please?
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. It's an honor for me to be here to represent the citizens of Kansas City, Kansas. From the unified government of Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas, I have a proclamation. Whereas, on behalf of the citizens of Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas, I join with the Kansas City, Kansas School District, Wyandotte High School, in its tribute to assistant coach Donald Upson on this occasion of the dedication of this gymnasium floor in his name. And whereas Coach Upson was known as the players' best friend and confidant and helped them develop the tools to be a better player and a better person, now therefore, I, Carol Marinovich, Mayor, CEO of the Unified Government of Wyandotte County, Kansas, Kansas City, Kansas, do hereby proclaim Friday, January 17th, 2003 as Coach Don Upson Day.
Would Mrs. Jean Upson Fields come to the center court? Mrs. Jean Upson Fields.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. I also have a proclamation from Carol Marinovich. On behalf of the citizens of Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas, I join with the Kansas City, Kansas School District and Wyandotte High School in its tribute to Coach Walt Schublum on this occasion of dedication of his historic gymnasium in his name. And whereas your leadership and commitment to excellence in the education of Wyandotte High School basketball players is well known and respected throughout our country. And whereas Coach Walt Schublum has touched and motivated the lives of many and is recognized as one of the most successful coaches in the history of Wyandotte High School, now therefore I, Carol Marinovich, Mayor, CEO of the Unified Government of Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas, do hereby proclaim Friday, January 17, 2003 as Coach Walt Schublum Day.
Now it gives me great pleasure to introduce one of the finest principals Wyandotte High School has ever known, Mr. Thomas Rohn, who will serve as the Master of Ceremonies.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, what a pleasure it is to be back in this building. When I first came in this evening, some of the students and the parents stopped me and they said, "This is the first time that I've ever seen you at a basketball game without wearing something red." I told them, "Hold on. Now we want to get down to some business, and I want to thank all of you, if I may have your attention, please. To Don Upson, dear friend of mine, no one individual contributed more to assist Coach Schublum than the late Donald Upson, a longtime assistant who also coached the state championship team in his 1 year as head basketball coach. A great believer in and a teacher of correct basketball fundamentals, Coach Upson's contributions were recognized by Wyandotte players, his colleagues, and by the coaches and players of many teams against whom they competed. It is because of Coach Upson's support, dedication, loyalty, and commitment to excellence that the Kansas City, Kansas School District and Wyandotte High School are dedicating the gymnasium floor as the Donald Upson floor. You can see the coach's name along the baselines on the west and east ends of the court. Receiving a plaque commemorating this event is his wife, Jean Upson Fields, along with Mrs. Fields are her husband, Jim, daughters Becky Upson, Connor, and her husband and children, and Karen Upson Jones and her son, and a son, Alan Upson, and his children. Long and outstanding mathematics instructor and district administrator, as well as a well-recognized and successful basketball coach, please join all in attendance in honoring the memory of Coach Donald Upson as Mrs. Fields receives a plaque recognizing the dedication of the floor in his honor. Mrs. Fields. Where is she? Here she is. Okay. Okay. Next one? Okay. All right, now. Coach Schublum. Coach Walter Schublum's commitments to excellence and the education of Wyandotte High School basketball players and students is well known and respected throughout our country. During the era of champions, the record of performance in state tournaments is well documented. The success of the teams was the result of dedication of both players and coaches to excel. Coach Schublum's organization, attention to detail, and demanding practices result in teams that were all prepared and fundamentally very sound. While there were a number of great players who represented Wyandotte during the era of champions, there were an even greater number of good kids who became good basketball players because of their willingness to commit to the demands made by Coach Schublem and his staff. It is with great pride that the Kansas City School District and Wyandotte High School dedicate this historic gymnasium in the name of Coach Walter Schublem, one of the most successful high school basketball coaches in the history of the United States, and a true bulldog. Will Coach Schublem, with Coach Schublem tonight, is his wife Lil, daughter Mary Ann Gunnarsson, her husband and children, and son Sam. Also in attendance tonight are many of the players who were part of the outstanding tradition. Would all of the players who played for Mr. Coach Schublem during this time, please raise your hand so we know where you are. All right. Now, I know I'm going to get in trouble here, but I'm going to do it anyway. There are two men in particular that I'm extremely proud of that exemplified all of the traditions of that. We have with us tonight Mr. Lucius Allen. Lucius Allen was an All-American. He was an All-State basketball player, played for UCLA on championship teams, and a national NBA basketball player, Lucius Allen. Also, there's another individual. I'm very proud of him. Steve Rinko. Steve Rinko is an All-American, better known for his basketball, but also his baseball. Steve Rinko pitched for 7 major league teams, and the last one being the Kansas City Royals. Steve Rinko. Now, in addition to these two, we have assistant coaches, teachers, colleagues, administrators, students, cheerleaders, and pep club and class officers who return to the gymnasium that produce so many excellent memories. 2 former and famous colleagues not able to be in attendance but who sent congratulatory messages are retired UCLA basketball coach John Wooden and retired University of Missouri coach Norm Stewart. So all of those who are either pep club, class officers, cheerleaders, students, administrators, please raise your hand. Oh, man. So please join us who are sharing in this special evening by honoring Coach Walt Schublem, and he accepts the plaque from the Kansas City School Board, President Gloria Willis, and Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Ray Daniels. Officially dedicating this historic gymnasium as the Coach Walter Schublem Gymnasium. That's what we're going to do. So, is there some music right now? All right, if you look right up underneath the scoreboard, As we come to a close here, I think it is totally appropriate that we have a few remarks from our guests this evening, and particularly in honor of this great man, Coach Schubel.
Thank you very much, Coach. Tom Rowan has been my friend for many, many years. We even coached against each other back in the 50s. Then he came to Wyandotte as assistant principal, and then eventually was the principal. But he's one of the biggest friends I ever had. And it pleased me so much to find out that he was going to be the MC here tonight. Okay. Okay. This place was always hard to hear in, that's for sure. And you know, I had a pretty good speech figured out, but like in '93 when they gave me that plaque that they got out in front, when I got over here, I just threw the speech away because it didn't do me any good, and I just talked off the top of my head. So that's what I'm going to do now. Can you all hear me? Okay. Well, I haven't done this before, so that's the reason why. No, seriously, it's great to be back home again. The last time I was up here was in 1969 when we put that last one in the middle row up there at our 10th state championship. You know, those things don't happen with one man alone. There's a lot of things that help you. And one of the things that I had was so good to me were a great bunch of assistant coaches. I'm going to have each one of those come out here in a minute. Just stand around for here because I want you people to see it. Coach Don Upson, I want Alan to come out here and stand and wait till he comes. Chuck Vining. Chuck was a great asset to our ball club because he was a jack of all trades. We were one of the first ball clubs in this area to have a trainer. And Chuck did that job for us beautifully. Took care of all the aches and pains that guys had. Also, he ran the drills we had, and those warm-up drills. He was great on that. He also came up with the big man. I don't know how many of you guys out there were on the big man, but let's see the hands of any of our players who were on the big man. Look at them. You only had to be 6'2" to qualify as a big man then, but Chuck had a great program going for them, and it worked for us beautifully. Then another man is Paul Palmer. Paul, would you come out here, please? Paul was one of the finest scouts that we ever had. He'd go out and see a ball club play, and then he would come out and tell us what we had to do offensively and defensively to be able to win the ball game. And he worked real well. Charles Sheffield is deceased. He was a great player for us, great coach for us. Dave Kendall. Dave couldn't be here tonight, but his son is. Young Davey Kendall. Dave, would you come out here? Some of you might have recommended this man. He was our student trainer here. We got him a scholarship to go to Pittsburgh State. He was our trainer, went to the Chiefs as assistant trainer, and now has been head coach for the trainer how many years? 14, Dave? 14 years as head coach, survived 4 different coaches, so he must be doing something right. Bill Young was a player and a coach. Bill was one of our players. He went to college, came back to us as assistant coach. Bob Baker, I don't think Bob is here, is he? Okay. John Trainer is here, I know. Where's John? Here comes John. He was one of our assistant coaches for 4 years. Clayton Henry, my boyhood friend from Salina, Kansas. who was here as assistant coach, went to Shawnee Mission West and was the first basketball coach at a new school over there. He since left and went to Iowa and was AD and basketball coach at Graceland College. We couldn't locate him either, so he's not here. Walt McGregor worked in our sophomore program. Is Walt here? Clyde Stripple. Some of you remember Dave. Clyde as also the football coach, the track coach. And the next gentleman is Dave Rayfeld. Dave's here, I know, and his wife, Judy. Dave left our place, went to Shawnee Mission East, started the girls program over there, women's program, and won his state championship, and the only one for the girls Shawnee Mission East 20 years ago. Brian Smith was a young man from Colorado. We haven't heard from him yet, but he was our assistant coach for several years. And Norm Stoppel. Norm's from Lawrence, Kansas. Left our place and went into business. Who? George Young? Yeah. George Young. George here? Okay. Many thanks to all of you guys. Okay. Besides these men, there are many others, and it would be impossible to name everyone who contributed to this program. I'd like to have all the players who are on the squad at Wyandotte at any level, anytime, to come out here on the floor. I'm not going to attempt to name them because there are too many of them. Also, student managers. We got several of those. How about this bunch? That's all right. I thank all of you guys for this honor and recognition, and in the name of every player, coach, manager, parents, cheerleaders, KC members, band members, and don't ever forget Sam the man with his band. You remember him? Samuelson, what a great person he was. Also the faculty, the administration, and the board members that you saw out here a while ago. Always been cooperative and helped us to the nth degree. Because of these people here, I accept these honor with my deepest thanks. And I might say, may there be a Wyandotte forever. Thank you.
Those of us that are celebrating with Coach Shabloom and Coach Upson.
One more thing, you know, things haven't changed a whole lot. You remember these red socks? And some of the players will remember this silver dollar that I used to use when we huddled up and beat on the floor, and it usually helped us come through. Still got them. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach. Thanks to all of you for taking part in this celebration. Those of us that are continuing the celebration, we will go back to the social hall and finish up the celebration and signing of a large print poster in honor of Coach Shabloom and also Coach Upson. Thank you very much. Thank you for being patient, and we will get on on with the game. Thank you.
Quite a dedication to the former Bulldogs head coach, Walt Schublum, 79 years old. He'll turn 80 February 5th. Now posing for a picture with his former players. And tell you what, Doug, he said it would be an emotional night for him. He also said it'd be a very happy night, and we got both cases done there.
Well, it's amazing. Obviously, we know he's a great coach. He won 92% of his ball games, 296 wins, 26 losses. Incredible. His worst year, he won 75% of his games. He went 13-4. As it was mentioned, he won 10 state titles, and Coach Upson another state title. And what was amazing to me is how he deflected all the attention off of himself, and that's what the great ones really do, and they get everybody involved. That's the team atmosphere that Coach Schublum and all the great coaches always have around them. And you can tell they are a family at half court right now.
Yeah, he passed on the success by saying one man can't do it by himself, and he was quick to thank the band, the fans, the faculty, the counselors, his players, cheerleaders, assistant coaches, the pep club. And boy, you're right, Doug. You cannot do it by yourself. By the way, Donald Upson, the other gentleman that's honored tonight, passed away in 1989. He died at the age of 59. He died of myeloma. His wife Jean was out there to accept the plaque. But he was the head coach in 1970 when they went 23-0, and just did it for 1 year. He said that was enough. He preferred being an assistant. He'd go on to be a vice principal at Wyandotte High School, and then a principal at Eisenhower Junior High, and then be the supervisor of the math department at Wyandotte High School, and then went on to go back into the classroom, taught math at Schlegel High School before he passed away at the young age of 59 years old. He'll be joined here in a moment by a Kansas City basketball legend, an NBA legend, former UCLA great Lucius Allen. Went on to play with the Milwaukee Bucks for a number of years, also the Los Angeles Lakers. And he is in the booth with us now. Lucius Allen here. Well, sir, you made it all the way from LA on a very special night to see your old coach. It's got to be a moving night for you.
It's such a great experience. It's a reunion where you get a chance to see all the fellas that you haven't seen in so many years. And coach is moving around. He's 80 years old in a couple of weeks, and he still looks like he has that honor in us when we were still playing and coaching against us.
I think we got your mic there. He still got that spunk, doesn't he?
He really does. He really does.
What do you remember most about playing for Coach Schublum?
Well, I think with Coach, he was the great teacher that really taught me the fundamentals. And because I had the fundamental base, it was easier for me to make the transition into college. Of course, I had a pretty good coach in college.
Oh, yeah, John Wooden.
Yes, with coaches as my base and John Wooden refining me. The NBA was a natural step, and it all started right here at Wyandotte High School. So I can't say enough about this man.
Well, I finally got him to admit. I said, who was your best all-around player? And he finally said, you know what? I don't like to name just one person, but it was Lucius Allen, because he was so quick. And that's quite an honor with all the great players you played with and the guys that followed you.
That's right. We had the Larry Drews of the world, the Pierre Russells. They all broke all of my records. But, Coach had that ability to really show me how to utilize what I had. I didn't realize I had the quickness until he would put me in situations on the floor where I could actually showcase what I had. So his ability to see what your strengths were, incorporate it into the offense, and of course winning those championships is what it's all about.
Yeah, let's talk about some great memories as a Bulldog. What stands out in your mind?
Believe it or not, my sophomore year was my coming out, and we were 22-0. But my biggest memory is losing that championship game to Salina, a team that we had beaten before. And I made a vow that I was never going to lose another championship game. And believe it or not, I won 2 more state and 3 NCAAs after that. And 1 year into the pros, I won an NBA championship. So it really built the character, the toughness that I really needed. And I think that was the turning point in my career.
What's it like coming back to this old gymnasium today?
The emotions are still running through me. You know, I can still hear the loo-loo-loos when I was around. I can still see that the floor is about the same. The players are different, but the concept is still the same. It's still a great place to play a game of basketball.
Doug Elston wants to ask you a few questions.
Doug, all right.
Mr. Allen, I got a quick question. We noticed how Coach Schublum deflected all the greatness off of him onto his coaches and players and so forth. We obviously know that he brought everybody else to a certain level. How did he raise the bar for all of his coaches and players alike?
Well, for us, it was the expectation. We knew that we were going to win. And if we executed what we were capable of doing defensively, it didn't matter how we played offensively because our defense was going to turn things around for us. And his ability in practice to teach the concepts of overplaying and still being able to help followed me all the way through my career. So I was always known as, yeah, I could shoot the ball, but I always got it done on the defensive end. And that's what made the difference between us and all the competition because we were always in the game.
Now, how did you apply that when you got to college and you were under another great coach and Coach Wooden? How did you apply all that basic and fundamentals, and what Coach Wooden do to build upon that?
Well, Coach Schublum gave me the work ethic. I knew that if I got 500 shots up a day, that I might become a shooter. I knew that I worked on the Pete Maravich drills and the drills that he gave me with ball handling, I might be able to handle the ball. When I got to Coach Wooden taught me the subtleties of playing my position, not just reacting, but being able to think and set situations up, read the defense, know what to do in certain situations. Of course, having a guy by the name of Al Sindor helped a little bit also.
And tell us about the silver dollar. What's the synopsis and what's the symbolism of the silver dollar?
Well, the silver dollar, whenever the game got tight, Coach would pull the silver dollar out, and of course, everybody in the gym could hear the instructions because Coach was not one to, he wasn't a bashful fellow. And when we saw the silver dollar out, if we didn't produce, the next week in practice wasn't going to be a pretty picture. So we were in better shape than everybody else. At the end of the game, we expected to excel. And when he pulled that out, that was like the signal. Let's go to work.
Let me ask you a question. In applying Coach Schublum's philosophy then to today's kids, how many kids that play high school basketball today could survive a practice with Coach Schublum?
I don't think any of the kids would make it today. It's a whole different way of coaching. Coach Schublum coached by intimidation and respect. I mean, he was like a father figure to us off the floor. But when we got between the lines, you were at his mercy. You better do it a certain way or else you're going to pay the price. And that price sometimes was running the steps. Sometimes it was defensive shuffles. Other times it got a little physical. And so with today's concepts, with the players, all the coaches want to be your friend. And because they're your friend, maybe you'll buy into the system. It was the other way around with Coach Schublum. You want to play at Wyandotte High School, you're going to do certain things, and guess what? We're going to win whether you're going to be there or not.
Thank you very much, Mr. Allen.
All right. I appreciate it.
Thanks for stopping up here, Lucius. Great to talk to you. Good to see you. Thanks for coming all the way from Los Angeles, California to have this special night for your coach.
Well, I tell you, I wouldn't have missed it for the world, and it's been a real moving experience for me. Thank you, guys.
We'll take a break. More from Wyandotte High School as we get ready for Washington taking on Wyandotte in KCK League basketball. The teams have hit the floor, warm-ups beginning, but the guests continue to arrive here at the broadcast booth. We're joined now as we get ready for Washington at Wyandotte by a former teammate of Lucius Allen. We have Tom French here. And Tom, this has been a great night. You got to see a lot of people you haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah, we're also excited to get together, especially for Coach, but also to see our former teammates.
What's been your thoughts on this whole setup here and then naming the gym after him, naming the floor after Coach Upson?
Well, both of those guys were my coaches, and I spent a lot of time with Don Upson. He was a fine man, and I couldn't be happier for him and his family. And, of course, Coach Schublum, I've known him forever. He started out as a Sunday school teacher of mine, so he's more than just a basketball coach. He's just a fine person.
What's your greatest memory as a Bulldog playing basketball for Coach Schublum and Coach Upson?
Well, obviously winning the state championships, and that one year we were undefeated, and I had the privilege of playing with Lucius, and that final game was just a culmination of 3 years of a lot of dedication and hard work.
Talk about the difference as far as basketball high school level now and back when you played. What are you seeing as differences?
Well, my impression is that the discipline level is so much different. The coaches back then could expect and command so much more of players who I don't see that today, although there's many good players and they do a good job. But our coaches took charge back then, and you pretty well did what they said.
The whole discipline factors come into be a big conversation piece this week with the Bud Lathrop situation in Raytown South. Your impressions on that situation there?
Well, I agree that he probably shouldn't have used a paddle, but I can understand by being around Coach Schublum exactly what Coach Lathrop must be like. He seems to be a fine man, and his record speaks for itself. And coaches are great motivators, and that if he's got a way of motivating them, then that's what he does.
You know, one of the great things that the great coaches do is they actually apply basketball to life. How did Coach Schublum do that for his players and coaches?
Well, I have to say that I walked away from here with some of the greatest lessons of life that I apply every day. I still go to, when I meet with a customer, I'm still thinking about running down the court and missing a layup. I'm not coming down here all the way to miss that layup, and that's what he taught you. They were there to win.
One of the things also that a great coach won't let his players do is they will not allow him to think loss, and I'm sure you apply that to business. But at the same time, what's your best memory of a practice?
Well, the coach was always full of a lot of funny quips and anecdotes, and he'd say things, and of course you were supposed to be serious the whole time, and he'd say something every now and then, and you just couldn't quit laughing, and of course, you know, he didn't like that, so you had to really hide it, but he had some great lines that I probably shouldn't go into right now, but they were awfully funny, and he had a sense of humor.
And how many state tournaments did you win?
We won 2. My sophomore year, the last game of the season was the only game we lost in the state tournament, and the next 2 years we won both of them.
Wow. Incredible. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for coming on. I know Coach, he impressed on me. He said one of the things, on and off the floor, quickly. You be there when I called a timeout, and that's one of the, you know, you see guys kind of lollygagging back to the huddle now, but Coach, he really stressed that to me when I talked to him on the phone this week.
You're right. You were there. You were there on time for everything, and practices, you didn't want to miss the team bus or you were in big trouble, but he stressed that, and that was what we were all about.
And shooting the ball, he kept saying, boy, we really shot a lot during our practices. That was one of the things he mentioned.
You know, the jump shot was, well, relatively new. Everybody was shooting the jump shot, but it was, they worked on the form of it, and we were one of the few schools I feel that had the good shooting jump shots, and that was a big key to our success.
Well, Tom, thanks for stopping by, and enjoy the ball game, enjoy the ceremony. It's like a class reunion for you guys.
It was wonderful. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for stopping in. Tom French, former teammate of Lucius Allen, a couple of state titles with Walt Schublum here at Wyandotte. Washington Wyandotte coming up in just moments. Back at the newly named Walter R. Schublum Gymnasium. Getting ready for the start of Washington and Wyandotte. It's still this, you know, hard to fathom this guy's record. 296 and 26, a winning percentage of .920 over 14 seasons, 10 state titles, and 3 other times they were in the state championships and lost.
Yeah, we're talking about just recently, we're talking about Roy Williams with an 80% winning record, one of the top 5 coaches to ever make it to 400 wins so quickly. And then we're talking about Bud Lathrop, who has 876 wins. Can you imagine if Walt Schublum coached for 44 years? That would be absolutely amazing. But at the same time, we did kind of get out of these guys some of the life lessons that we're taught. And I'm applying this a little bit toward a situation personally with Dean Smith and the fact that he talked about punctuality. Coach Smith, and I'm sure Walt Schublum is the same way, if you're 10 minutes early, you're late. You got to be 15 minutes early, and that taught these guys and Mr. French a life lesson, the fact that now he's applying it later on toward business and customers like he discussed with us.
The guy's in 5 Hall of Fames, Doug. 5 Sports Hall of Fames, Walt Schublum. And, of course, Don Upson was his longtime assistant. Didn't like that limelight. He only coached for 1 year, had the perfect record, and then got out. you know, some guys just want to be assistants, and that's pretty much the case with Don Upson.
Well, and that comes from the fact that they have a mentor like Coach Schublum that put in the infrastructure the way that Coach Schublum did. It's very easy to follow when you have a leader with the greatness of obviously Walt Schublum. But the fact of the matter is you could also see that Coach Schublum was a little bit uncomfortable with all the attention focused onto himself. And when he was speaking at the mic, then he had to deflect that to all his excellent assistant coaches, which he made even better with his presence and all the good basketball players. As Lucius Allen discussed, the fundamentals are the basics of the game, and he provided Lucius Allen with the fundamentals to not only go to another great school in UCLA and win some national championships at UCLA, but then go on to the Los Angeles Lakers for a very fruitful NBA career.
And also the Milwaukee Bucks. So yeah, he really elevated his game. I mean, you know, when you go down the list of all the great players that played here, I mean, Pierre Russell was one of his top players as well, and I don't think people remember Pierre maybe so much, but he played at the University of Kansas, and Coach will tell you he was the best rebounder I ever had. But let's go down some of the names: the Larry Drews, the Calvin Thompsons. Heck, there's two guys in the Big 12 right now from this high school, Victor Williams and Nate Johnson, playing in the Big 12.
And they all came from Wyandotte. Not that they played for Coach Schublum, but they came from Wyandotte, and they were part of the tradition that was established by Coach Schublum. And the fact 10 state titles, these guys knew about that when they came in, because the players talk. Every year there's a junior that becomes a senior, and they pass along those relationships and the memories and the thoughts and what happened in the practice the year before toward the next players. And that's what happened on a year-to-year basis. If you went and asked Calvin Thompson or Nate Johnson or Victor Williams if they've heard of Coach Schublum, I guarantee each and every one of them did, because they're part of a special tradition here at Wyandotte.
Well, Walt Schublum won 10 state titles. The last one, though, here at Wyandotte High School, won by that gentleman right there. That is Wayne Van Dyne. He won back in 1998 with one Victor Williams on his team. Opening tip-off coming up on Metro Sports. We're at the Walter R. Schublum Gymnasium, Donald E. Upson Court. Kevin White, Doug Elston awaiting the start of Washington and the Wyandotte Bulldogs in KCK League play. And Doug, you talk about the coach was from a different generation and applying, though, what he taught his players to the players playing today. You got a concept on that?
Well, definitely, and it all boils down to discipline. And we got a lot of media attention going on in the Kansas City area with some current situations and coaches providing discipline to their players and history and tradition. The fact of the matter is that discipline helps save a lot of kids. There is a lot of truth to that. And the fact of the matter is some of these guys, all of these guys that play for Coach Schublum, I don't care if he's old school or not, he knows the game better than a lot of coaches do and provides that aspect toward life, and all these guys remember that. When Coach Bud Lathrop is talking about saving a kid, he really is. I mean, he is saving a kid, and he is providing life lessons, and he is teaching these kids what discipline is, because at the same time, some of those guys don't get that outside of the basketball court, and athletics can provide that to you.
About 5.5 minutes before tip-off between Washington and Wyandotte here at the Schublum Gymnasium. It's a KCK League matchup. And two longtime rivals, and we're getting closer to tip-off here on our Hy-Vee High School Game of the Week here on Metro Sports. Welcome to Wyandotte High School in Kansas City, Kansas. We're at the Walter R. Schublum Gymnasium at the Donald E. Upson Court. And what tradition? Wyandotte has 20 state titles in their basketball history. Washington on the road taking on Wyandotte in KCK League Boys High School basketball. Hi, everybody. Kevin White along with Doug Elston here on the Hy-Vee High School Game of the Week here on Metro Sports. Well, Doug, it's been a festive night. We've had the dedication of the gymnasium and the floor. Oh, by the way, a pretty good basketball game going on tonight.
Throw out the records, because this one is always good. Washington and Wyandotte, you never know what to expect. We do know it could be a track meet.
And Washington will want to push it inside with their big guy, Jesse Ford.
Jesse Ford, the 6'5" junior, is doing a pretty good job on the inside. 10 points a game, 6 rebounds. Jesse has to take control of the basketball tonight because he would have those little guards, quick guards from Wyandotte slapping the ball if he brings it down.
And on the Bulldog side, boy, they've got an athletic guy who's on the floor. He scores. He plays defense. Antonio Clark.
And on the floor is a gross under-exaggeration for this guy. Antonio Clark, a 6'1 senior. He's averaging 14 points, 8 rebounds a game. He is all over the floor, on the floor, takes shots in the chops, sprained ankles, but he is resilient. He comes back to play, and he is the leader of this team.
It's been a very special night. Washington on the road here at the Donald E. Upson Court to take on Wyandotte. Our opening tip-off, our lineups next here on Metro Sports.
The high school game of the week is brought to you by Hy-Vee and their 20 Kansas City area employee-owned Hy-Vee locations, Farmers Insurance, and these Kansas City Metro agents. Contact your local Farmers agent today. Remember, Farmers get you back where you belong. And by KC Bobcat in Blue Springs, Grandview, and Olathe.
Back at Wyandotte High School here in Kansas City, Kansas, the newly named Schublum Gymnasium and Upson Court, as Washington on the road taking on Wyandotte. There's the head coach of the Washington Wildcats. He's in his 11th year. That is Leonard Sparkman. Only one losing season in those 10 years completed. This team coming in with a record of 2-6. They are 0-1 in the KCK League. Let's take a look at our starting lineups for this KCK League matchup. And some changes for the Wildcats as they've decided to scrap the big lineup as they're in a 5-game losing skid. So some new faces on the floor for them, mainly at the guard slot. Nathan Bowie, a 5'11 junior, has been called up from the JV and now is starting. It's a big jump up. And Mike McClooney, a 6'1 senior, just became eligible at the semester, so he's back in the lineup. The rest of the lineup is Demetrius Riley, averages 3 points per game. Chris Robinson, if the name sounds familiar, he's the little brother of Ronald Robinson, now playing at William Jewell. He averages 7 points and 5 rebounds per game. And the big man that Doug talked about in the open is Jesse Ford, leads him in points per game at 10 per game and a half dozen rebounds per game. As far as the lineup for the Wyandotte Bulldogs, their record is 3-4 on the year. They are 1-0 in the KCK League. And a familiar face has been donning the point guard slot for them for a number of years. I'm talking about Keith Boo Richardson. Started as a freshman, now a 5'7 junior. Averages 10 points per game. And Antonio Clark is their best all-around player. This guy can do it all. And he averages 14 points and 8 rebounds per game. James Kirkendall, if that name sounds familiar, you may remember his brother Chris Kirkendall was quite a player. He's now playing at Hutch Community College. And the rest of the lineup, John Mississippi Jones. Young man, a 6-foot senior, averages 3 points and 3 rebounds per game. And rounding out their lineup, they've got a nice big man, also the brother of Chris Kirkendall. His name is Delonzo Marshall. He's a 6'5 junior. They just call him Zoe. But he's an impressive big man. Averages 8 points and 8 rebounds per game. So once again, the lineup for Coach Wendell Moore is going to be Richardson, Clark, Kirkendall, Jones, and Marshall. Wendell Moore in his first year. Last 2 years, he was an assistant here at WHS. And last year, he was an assistant under Wayne Van Dyne, who now has traded positions with him. Coach Van Dyne is now an assistant. He stepped down. He wanted to watch his daughter, Corey, play college basketball. So he has to travel to Maryville, Missouri at Northwest Missouri State games to watch Corey play on Wednesdays and Saturdays. So he's now an assistant basketball coach, but the last Wyandotte coach to win a state title back in 1998.
I think it's interesting the chess match already by Coach Sparkman and throwing a couple of guys that played JV ball in the starting lineup immediately for this basketball game. Always a very big basketball game, a big rivalry. You can see all the people in the stands, they're ready to roll. Coach Sparkman going with the smaller lineup to kind of match up more with the quickness and pressure defense that the Washington Wildcats will see from the Bulldogs.
Last year, Leonard Sparkman and his Wildcats, 18-3. They swept this series, winning 64-57 here at Wyandotte. Then in the game we did, Doug, 49-40. It was a close one. And Leonard Sparkman's team, the defending KCK League champs, but keep in mind, no returning starters from last year. A whole new group out there for him.
Oh, it is, but they always seem to have some kind of talent at Washington High School. Coach Sparkman does a pretty good job of developing that talent. This year is no exception when you got a junior in Jesse Ford at 6'5", just looks like a man there in the middle. Jesse's already shaving heavily, which I don't think you or I would even have considered that until we were freshman, sophomore in college. He's a couple years ahead of us.
Shaving, he's got a beard.
He's got a beard, all right. He's got some big calves, and you know he can get up in the air. And Delonzo Marshall, 6'5" junior from Wyandotte, is a good matchup for him.
Tom Eccleston, Chris Williams, and Terrence Williams-Bay, your officials for this KCK League matchup. Wyandotte 1-0 in the KCK League. As the ball flicked out of play, it'll stay with the Bulldogs. They beat Harmon. And as far as Washington is concerned, they are 0-1 after a loss to Schlegel. Schlegel, by the way, hosting Harmon in this 4-team league. So you only get 6 conference games, so these are big money games. As Squirt Jones has it to the baseline. Kirkendall rebounded by Marshall, and he'll draw the foul inside. They'll get it on Jesse Ford, his first. There is Delonzo Marshall, 6'5", a junior.
Gets the man-to-man defense that time by the Wildcats. Delonzo Marshall basically just staying active on the glass. Really a matter of desire and going after the offensive rebound.
Impressive stat line for this young man.
That 4.3 steals really sticks out. You can talk about the 8 points and 8 rebounds, but 4.3 steals is pretty good defensive pressure by Delonzo on the post.
1 out of 2, but kept alive by Keith Boo Richardson. Out to Kirkendall for the 3, not there. Offensive rebound put back up, no good by Clark. And the Wildcats will run their first offensive set of the night.
Kirkendall, the left-handed player we just saw shoot the 3-point shot, is really good off the dribble and shooting the basketball.
Ford on the inside, can't finish. Here comes Clark in a transition game. And Squirt Jones can't handle it. A turnover by the Dogs. And now it's turned right back over as Clark with the steal for Wyandotte.
Advantage Wyandotte. This is the tempo and the pace that they want, but yet Coach Moore has done an excellent job. Now he's slowing the pace down in the offensive end of the floor to get the shot that they want. They're a very patient offensive team, but provide a lot of their offense with their quickness on defense.
Nice move to the baseline. Kirkendall, no. Ball volleyballed around, tipped out, and it'll belong to the Washington Wildcats in the backcourt. One of the big concerns for Leonard Sparkman, the turnover problem. When you average 20 turnovers per game, it's tough to win ball games, and his team only just 2-6 this year.
20 turnovers a game just provides the other team more shots, and by percentage, you're going to lose if that's the case.
Bowie the 3 try, no. Jesse Ford had it stripped, and here comes Boo Richardson back the other way, 1-on-2. Turns and fires on Bowie. This one pinballs out. And Bowie will retrieve the rebound for Washington.
You see the quickness we talked about in the open by the Wyandotte guards. Jesse Ford brought the ball down, and it was stripped by the quick Wyandotte guards. Those are those turnovers that they have to limit.
Both teams playing some tough man-to-man defense. Taking it to the hole is Ford. And we've got a blocking foul on the Wyandotte Bulldogs as there's 2 Fords on the floor. And this is Joe Ford, the transfer from Harmon High School. He'll go to the free throw line to shoot 2. Young man that was so happy they won their opening game against Shawnee Mission Northwest after going 0-for last year for Harmon. Didn't win a game for Harmon. He thanked the entire team and the coaching staff after they won their first game for finally giving him a victory.
Well, we talked about discipline all night. One of the guys that's done an excellent job of trying to emulate that discipline in present-day basketball with the players. is Coach Wendell Moore for the Wyandotte Bulldogs. He is in his first year. He's got a very disciplined approach. The kids respect him, and he treats them like one of their own. You can just tell by the feel the kids have around him. Into a 1-3-1 zone this time by the Wildcats. They got to get out on that shooter.
Squirt Jones tried the three. It went over the backboard and out of play. It'll belong to the Washington Wildcats as you take a look at Wendell Moore.
He's done a very good job so far in his first year. You can tell the kids really respond to what Coach Moore, and they have bought in to his style of play with their defense and then patience on the offensive end of the floor.
Foul on James Kirkendall for the Wyandotte Bulldogs. That's his first. 2 team fouls on the Bulldogs with the record of 3-4. They lost at home here on Tuesday as they lost to Metro Academy 67-60. And what a scoring performance we saw by the visitors that night. Greg Allen putting in 42 points against the Dogs, 30 in the first half.
You're talking about throwing somebody on the radar screen immediately. Greg Allen did a great job. How many three-pointers did he hit? 8?
7?
7 3-point shots, and a lot of them, all of them in the first half, I believe.
And he was just on fire.
Unconscious.
Kirkendall another foul, so that's 2 quickies on James Kirkendall, 3 on the team as Washington runs the set. Chris Liebhardt has checked into the lineup.
With the pressure defense, you can see Delonzo Marshall, who is a center at 6'5", out on the floor guarding Ford, who is uncomfortable with the ball out there.
Bowie to the baseline, cut off, ball flicked away, but right out to Robinson. Robinson puts it on the floor, driving, no, and the rebound ripped away by Antonio Clark. Antonio feeding it back, shot put up off the mark as Stevie Townsell in the ball game can't connect. And we go back the other way. Both teams trying to get clicking on offense here.
Wyandotte doing an excellent job on defense right now, creating a lot of their offense with their defense and more of that up-tempo.
Ford long with the jumper, offensive rebound, the little guy on the inside, Bowie, no. And here comes Boo Richardson out with it ahead of the pack. And Boo puts it up and in on a scoop.
This is one of those easy shots is going to go. Wyandotte doing a great job of creating a lot of easy shots, once again with the defense.
Bowie, the kick out. Robinson just inside the 3-point arch. Liebhardt chasing down the rebound to keep it alive for Washington. And now a push-off by Liebhardt as Antoine Squirt Jones was putting the defense on, and he elbowed the defender away. There's Squirt. I said, how do you get to be Squirt and you're over 6 foot tall? He said, well, when I was younger, I was a little guy. Everybody called me Squirt, and the name just stuck.
Washington into a 3-2 zone this time. They really got to put pressure on the outside. Antonio Clark can shoot the ball from out there. Good shooter, good slasher, very good athlete.
The Dogs turn it over. Wildcats quickly back the other way. Robinson, a tough shot. Can't finish, but draws the foul and will shoot 2 free throws. This is Chris Robinson, the baby brother of Ronald Robinson, doing very well now with William Jewell.
He is doing well. Talk about a baby brother. Ronald Robinson is a big chunk of change, and you can see some driveway battles going on here. You think Chris Robinson is big at 6'3". He's just a junior. His brother is 6'5" and almost twice the girth.
But Chris will tell you he wins a majority of those one-on-one matchups.
Well, it's not because he's going inside, that's for sure. He's taking his brother outside.
First one is missed. One more coming for Chris Robinson. C-Rob, as they call him. Good student. Wants to be a real estate agent someday. 1 out of 2 for Chris. 1 point lead in the basketball for Wyandotte as they bring it up with junior Keith Richardson. They call him Boo.
Good playmaker. Keith Richardson really loves to get in the middle of that defense and kick the ball to his partners out there just like that. And you can see he'll create a lot of open shots for his buddies.
Palmer McCurry is out on the floor as well.
Look at him getting in the middle of that defense. He's just trying to penetrate that zone defense. You can crack that first initial layer of a 3-2. They have trouble.
Richardson, the 3 ball, rebounded by Chris Robinson for Washington. Low scoring affair. Approaching 3 minutes ago, and now the steal. John Jones Everybody calls him Mississippi because he's from Greenwood, Mississippi, but he is in a lot of pain. He twisted his ankle in the Tuesday home loss to Metro Academy. Marshall to turn around from 16, not there, and Leapart a rebound for Washington. Neither team finding their offense here in this first quarter, and now a timeout asked for and granted. The Washington bench area as Leonard Sparkman wants to talk about it.
See that Washington is really frazzled on the offensive end of the floor. Coach Sparkman really wants them to get settled down, get into their offense. And as you mentioned, Kevin, they have not been able to do so far because of that quickness and defensive pressure for the Bulldogs. At the same time, you can see the philosophy of Coach Wendell Moore and the Wyandotte Bulldogs is if they don't have that primary break and have an advantage, a 2-on-1 or an open layup going to the basket created by a steal, they want to hold the ball out and get into their offensive set, which they've done very well so far early on in this basketball game. They slow it, they're very patient, and they're getting good shots, which will eventually fall.
Jesse Ford, no points from him as of yet. The Washington basketball after the timeout. Last squirt of water for Delonzo Marshall as he runs out to his defensive position. Bulldogs have played man-to-man throughout. Robinson and Palmer McCurry going head-to-head. Down inside, Jesse Ford pops from the baseline and scores. Jesse Ford.
Good job by Jesse Ford that time. Once he got the ball, he kept it up over his head, making it difficult for the smaller Bulldog defender, in that case, to get to the basketball.
He's getting some Division I looks, is Jesse Ford. Inside they go. Delonzo Marshall, nice.
One dribble really got to the basket quickly. Took up a lot of space. As you can see, once again, the pressure, full court man-to-man, trying to create some steals.
McClooney double-teamed and stripped by Boo Richardson. And Keith Boo Richardson to the bucket and scores. He's got 4.
Coach Sparkman and the Wildcats have to take care of the basketball, averaging 20 turnovers a game. 3 guys averaging 5 turnovers a game. The quick guards from Wyandotte really having their way right now. The defensive pressure.
So the pressure causing back-to-back Wildcat turnovers.
Another thing that Coach Moore will do is he will rotate 7-8 guys in the lineup, keep a lot of fresh bodies out there because he wants that defensive pressure to keep the other team out of their offense and create more offense by his defense.
In the baseline, Jones inside, Delonzo Marshall. And it'll be an offensive push-off as he kind of lowered his head and shoulders into the defender.
That time, Delonzo Marshall, and he will learn, just a junior, he's just got to learn to go up with his size and length. He's able to jump over the top of a lot of people.
2 personal fouls on him, and now the Wildcats can't get it in, so the pressure continues to cause Leonard Sparkman's team a lot of problems here. Late stages of the first quarter, they're down by 3. They've had back-to-back turnovers, and now they couldn't get the ball in time and had to use a timeout, and Coach doesn't look so happy there.
No, and I wouldn't look so happy either. You just got to run their play. You got to execute. That's what he's talking to his guys about. We've seen that full court press before. We have to execute our press offense, get into our defense regardless. We have to set screens, get guys open, and alleviate that pressure. They are lucky right now to be down just 3 points, and that's strictly because Wyandotte has not capitalized on a lot of easy opportunities their defense has created for them.
Washington to inbound basketball in the backcourt. Down by 3. Minute and a half to go in your first quarter. Robinson plays it down to the baseline. Jesse Ford wheeling, scoring. Jesse Ford starting to heat up. Robinson the nice assist, and it's a 1-point ball game. Clark the lob inside. Marshall turns, shoots, and got the shooter's roll. Delonzo Marshall, the 6'5 junior, now with 5 first quarter points.
Early on in this game, Washington is 2 of 8 Wyandotte is 4 of 14, but you can see the difference. 6 shots created a lot by the defensive turnovers that the Wyandotte defense is creating.
And another turnover by the Wildcats gives it back to Wyandotte. Under a minute to play in your first quarter. The second KCK League game. The 2002-2003 season. You get to play 6 in this league. Wyandotte 1-0. Washington 0-1, but they're the defending KCK League champions.
The zone defense is really coming out right now, coming out into a man-to-man defense. Creating a foul. The Wyandotte Bulldogs going for 1 shot with 33.4 seconds to go in the first quarter.
Washington foul whistled on Nathan Bowie, and now the turnover as Bowie has it back for Washington.
Coach Sparkman ought to notice something right there against the man pressure. Wyandotte have a difficult time right there instead of against the 3-2 zone where they were getting a lot of easy looks.
Baseline shot comes up short. And it's rebounded by the Bulldogs as Clark up the floor trying to get a last shot off. Townsend on the pull up on the 3. And it would not have counted as it came up late and short. 1 quarter in the books here in KCK League action here at the new Walter R. Schublum Gymnasium. Good one going. 9-6. Wyandotte on top. Second quarter action next on the Hy-Vee High School Game of the Week. Coach Sparkman's team is down by 3 as we get ready to go with the second quarter action. Some first quarter impressions. Low scoring affair thus far.
Very low scoring created by a lot of bad shooting. 25% for Washington, 21% by Wyandotte. But Wyandotte is getting a lot more shots at the basket with the excellent defense they're providing. A lot of times that defense will eventually wear down an offense. All that pressure will take advantage in the fourth quarter.
And a stick back. A shot off the mark, but on the weak side, Jesse Ford there to bank it home. He's got a half dozen. And it's a 1-point lead for Wyandotte as they run their first set of the second quarter against that zone defense.
Wyandotte doing a good job of really moving the ball around against the zone defense and getting shots like that. That's where the zone is not very effective, is on the offensive glass, because guys guard areas and not men, and therefore if you move around you're very likely to get an offensive rebound.
And a walking violation. Washington will turn it over, and this has been their huge problem throughout the season. Just way too many turnovers. Clark sizing up the zone, trying to get him out of the zone as he backs up near center court. And now they do break into a man-to-man defense. Clark passing inside. Marshall can't handle it. And it's a turnover by Wyandotte.
That was the 4th turnover for Wyandotte against 8 for Washington.
Robinson with a reversal. Chris Robinson. He has 3. The pull-up short by Boo Richardson, gets his own rebound, finding Clark. He pops. And the ball deflects out of play. Last touch by the Wildcats. So Wyandotte will keep at their offensive baseline, leading by 1. 6.5 to play in your second quarter. Inside, Marshall short arms it. John Jones cleaning up the inside and drawing the foul. And will shoot free throws. So last time down, stick back by Jones, and hitting the offensive boards hard is Mississippi, as they call him, John Jones.
Two of the things that Wyandotte is not at a loss for, number 1 being defensive pressures. We've already seen that. The number 2 is hard work. Coach Moore, Coach Van Dyne, the coaching staff of the Bulldogs has really got these guys working extremely hard on both ends of the floor, especially the defensive end of the floor. And you can see on the offensive end of the fourth, they will crash the glass.
One out of two for Mississippi, as they call him. And driving inside and scoring is Chris Leapart. Count it, and he is fouled. Nice bold move to the basket by Leapart.
Good body by the 6'5" Leapart. You can see what happens once you crack the initial wave of the full court pressure. How easy it becomes at times because you're going 1-on-1, 2-on-1 against the guy underneath the basket. That time Washington got the easy layup +1.
Ties it at 12. Clark trying to shake off the cobwebs. Well, that guy, tell you what. He was on the floor a number of times in their loss on Tuesday as Leapart able to complete the three-point play and give the Wildcats their first lead of this first half at 13-12 at the 6-minute mark.
So you want to get the ball right in the center of that 3-2 defense at the free throw line.
Bowie the steal, feed it ahead to Robinson to the rack.
Wow. Nice lay in by Robinson that time as he is hurt.
And he is on the floor at the baseline, writhing in pain, is Chris Robinson after that scoop deuce.
Remember, a good thing, always an ankle or a knee, and this time it looks like Coach Sparkman is going toward the ankle.
Here's another look, Doug.
Probably rolling it, coming down on somebody's ankle right there, which is very painful initially for about the first 5 minutes, depending upon the extent of it. I guess as you'll see Chris get up here in about a minute, start walking, he'll be back in the action.
I hope he's okay as the coaches take a look at him. Nice young man is Chris. Honor roll student there at Washington High School. Involved in the student council system there. And now they help him to his feet. Got one of the assistants for Wyandotte and the head coach of Washington.
Washington on a 7-1 run. Created a lot by that man right there. Chris Robinson, the catalyst for this team, and just a junior. James Kirkendall, as you see right there, left-handed shooter who loves to go to his left but can't go to his right, and also loves to shoot off the dribble. Very effective while shooting off the dribble.
He had to sit down with some foul trouble, and all of a sudden the Wildcats on this run grabbed a 3-point lead. Under 6 to play in your second quarter as Wyandotte in the home whites brings it across.
James also, I'm sure, had some driveway battles with brother Chris, who is now at Hutchinson JUCO.
Nice jumper put up and in from short range by Delonzo Marshall. 7 first half points. All tipped out by Clark. They'll stay with Washington in their offensive court.
3-2 zone defense has really held Boo Richardson and Antonio Clark in check right now. The excellent guard duo for the Bulldogs.
Bowie trying to play it underneath to a posted Leapart. It's a little wild. And I asked Coach Sparkman, I said, wait a minute, the guy goes from the JV to a starter. He goes, well, the guy keeps us on task, takes care of the basketball, and that's what I want from my point guard. Clark, three-point range. Rebounded on the weak side by Bowie. A little wild with the passes is Nathan. Nice one there, though. And it's put up and in. That's Tony Townsend off the bench for Coach Sparkman. Another one of those JV guys that Coach is really excited about. Also played football for the Wildcats. Boo Richardson on the elbow pull-up. Buries it.
About the pass from Hassan Johnson through the middle of the defense that time.
Washington again gets a little wild with the passes, but they'll catch a break here and they'll keep the basketball at the baseline. Trey Carter will play it in from the baseline. Inside, ball flicked away. Another Wildcat turnover. Looking for Jones, and they missed the mark. Both teams exchanging turnovers.
Nathan Bowie, I apologize, not Hassan Johnson. Excellent left-handed pass to the inside, and a very good finish that time.
And a whistle out front. And a Wyandotte foul coming up on Antonio Clark. That'll send Trey Carter to the free throw stripe. Trey, a 5'10" senior. The transfer from Atchison. This one has his little brother on the team, Bruce. Front end of the 1-and-1 is home, so they'll earn a bonus as Coach Sparkman continues to change his lineup. Cameron Morgan now going to check in for the Cats, and out goes Chris Leapart. Trey Carter started the early part of the season, averaging 6 points per game, and it's 2 free throws for his first points of the game. 3-point lead for Washington. Halfway through the second quarter here at the Schublum Gymnasium. We're on the campus of Wyandotte High School, opened up in 1937. What a historic place. Jones from just inside the 3-point arch. And a rebounding battle and a foul on the inside. If it's on Zoe Marshall, that'll be 3.
That's just a product of having long arms that time by Delonzo Marshall. He was up in the air. The referee did not give him credit for getting up in the air and the height advantage. And long arms for Delonzo. Delonzo just keep the ball active before it hit a shorter player.
Delonzo going to check out with those 3 personal fouls. Squirt Jones. Antonio Clark check back in. Trey Carter back to the foul stripe to shoot the 1 plus the bonus. He's 3 for 3. Came in a 75% foul shooter. Here's Clark going to work, passing the baseline, and it's tipped out by Washington. The Dogs will keep at the baseline. Down 4. No foul jeopardy setting in for Wendell Moore. Stevie Townsend working the dribble. Now they go in the corner. Boo Richardson. Thus far been a grinders game. Inside the pass right through the hands of Squirt Jones, and a turnover by the Dogs.
So we're seeing a lot of the turnovers. Good pressure, a lot of unforced errors this time. Good look on the inside. Boo Richardson trying to get in the middle there, and good look by Antonio Clark. Got to be ready when those guys have the basketball.
And while we're away, Jesse Ford put it up and in to give a 6-point lead to the Washington Wildcats, and Wendell Moore seen enough. He called timeout. as this team has really been stagnant offensively here in the second quarter.
Well, they're not shooting the ball very well, and neither team is shooting the ball extremely well. But at the same time, Coach Moore has to be very happy with his defensive pressure and the fact that they are creating a lot of turnovers. Those shots will eventually fall, as this team is a pretty good field goal shooting team. You got Antonio Clark at 53%, Kirkendall at 54, who's on the bench, Delonzo Marshall at 59, who is also on the bench with foul trouble.
Coming up, Hy-Vee at the half. We'll have the first half numbers and run down the first half highlights as you take a look at the legendary coach, Walter R. Schublum. I wish him an early happy birthday. He'll be 80 February 5th. His Dogs, though, down by 6. Just over 3 to play in your second quarter. Inside Squirt Jones, and he traveled with the basketball. He got hip checked there by Jesse Ford. That sent him stumbling.
Squirt's not going to argue about it. Coach Moore has done a good job of telling those guys, do not argue with the official. Just continue to play and play hard.
A big lead of 6. Trey Carter gets a little crazy with the dribble, has it taken away. Palmer McCurry to the basket. Can't finish. Tip try. Not there by Clark. And the Wildcats sprint the other way. Jesse Ford whirling. And the ball comes loose on the deck. And saved by the Dogs.
Oh!
And now Stevie Townsend. It's a road bump on the floor and goes down. And he'll turn it back over. This is Keystone Cops here.
Good hustle this time by Antonio Clark. One thing we expected from him, always getting on the floor, doesn't matter what it takes. Don Upson came up and tripped up. What's Don doing?
I was going to say the logo on the floor got him, but he didn't get quite there.
Don came back to life. Tripped up his own Bulldog.
And now the tip away by Clark. He's electric, and he scores. Antonio Clark trips over his own guy.
Trying to play some defense. Look at Boo Richardson getting after all the Bulldogs. Squirt Jones getting down.
And Trey Carter, power move to the bucket and draws the foul.
Got him getting after this. You can see Antonio Clark out in the lane. No dribble. He's going right to the basket. Getting after each other.
His own guy, Lowbridge, is in there. Hey, Boykin.
I appreciate
I lay it up, and I get Lowbridge there. Trey Carter back to the free throw line. He's been pretty successful. 4 for 5 for the 5'10" senior. Fouls, so one more, it'll be the double bonus. Doesn't matter to Trey. He's found a rhythm at the free throw stripe. 5 for 6. All his points at the free throw stripe.
Throw some pressure defense of their own with a 2-2-1 3-quarter court press. Wyandotte doing a good job of handling the pressure.
And a walking violation on Palmer McCurry. And the Cats will have it at midcourt.
Their defensive battle so far in this first half. Neither team getting great shots.
Trey Carter into the paint. And the wave off the basket. A charge taken by Antonio Clark. Imagine that. He's on the floor so much for this team.
He is all over the place. Will put his body on the line, as we've seen in other games this year by the Bulldogs.
Cut his mouth in the last game, hurt his knee, but kept coming out to play. Taking it to the bucket. Nice feed by Richardson. Finding his buddy Antonio Clark.
You see, Boo Richardson really loves to give up assists to his pals.
Trey Carter trying to save it off Boo Richardson, and does, right into the lap of Leonard Sparkman.
Watch Boo Richardson really trying to make something happen with his playmaking ability. Antonio Clark running with him. You see Boo's hands go up in there. He really loves giving out the assist. Gotta love a player like that. Wyandotte, as we've talked over the years, they've had guys like that, and Larry Drew, Victor Williams, among others. There have been numerous others along the way. Just pure point guards that love to get their buddies involved.
Nathan Bowie going to check back into the lineup for the Wildcats. Cameron Morgan out. Also, Tony Townsend in for Trey Carter. Lob it down low, too tall for Ford. Stolen by Jones for Wyandotte. They're down by 4. Late moments of your first half.
Get his guys set up, get Boykin in the middle of that defense. That's what we want to be, is right in the center. There's a sweet spot at the free throw line where nobody is. Right now, Antonio Clark is standing there. You have to guard that spot because a lot of things can happen from that position with the basketball.
Here's the crossover by Boo Richardson. Off-balance shot. Jesse Ford a rebound for the Wildcats. Under a minute to play in your first half. Wildcats a 4-point lead in the basketball. Bowie and Richardson, good guard matchup. Townsend in trouble, finding Bowie. Wildcats look to play for the final shot of the second quarter. Down low, Jesse Ford, cross-courting, intercepted by Boo Richardson. Richardson to that hole, that scores.
Job by Boo Richardson, creating another steal, an easy layup.
And a reach-in foul on the sideline by Palmer McCurry. Boo is so quick.
He is quick. Excellent anticipation by Boo. Loves those easy layups. Loves to give other guys easy layups as well. Excellent defense by the junior.
2 free throws for Chris Leapart. Double bonus, 10 team fouls on the Wyandotte Bulldogs as Leapart, the left-hander, strokes it in. Honor roll student. Coach says we're looking for good things out of him in the second half of the season. He's got the body to do it. He's a well-built young man.
So.
3 for 3 from the foul stripe. 5 points in the ball game for Leapart off the bench as Boo Richardson has trouble. Has it stolen. Carter has it taken right back by Clark, feeding to Jones, and he scores it just before the buzzer. And what an interesting first half between these two KCK League teams. Frenetic, a lot of defense, not much scoring, but always entertaining. And the visitors from Washington leading by 2, 26-24. Coming up, Hy-Vee at the half. Here on the Hy-Vee High School Game of the Week here on Metro Sports. Back at halftime here at the Walter R. Schublum Gymnasium. Good one going between Wyandotte and Washington in KCK League play. It's a 2-point lead for the visitors from Washington. And we're pleased to be joined here at Hy-Vee at the half by the man being honored tonight, Walt Schublum. Coach, it's been a special night thus far. Boy, quite a few people from your past coming in and quite a dedication.
Certainly has. It was really uplifting to see these people respond, you know. Hadn't seen some of them for years. And I don't know how many we had actually in that player in the social hall, but it must have been 400 or 500.
There was a lot of people, and I talked to you on the phone this week, and you said it was going to be a happy and also an emotional night. Was it?
Well, you know, it was. You see a lot of these players, you know, and hear about them, what they've done, the good things they've done, you know, and how they helped me, and they think that I helped them, and I was glad to hear that, you know. But not only basketball, but the thing that they appreciate, I appreciate it when they tell me, you remember when it happened, this happened, that happens, I remember it all the rest of my life. And I'll tell you, I had this year for the first time, I always get a lot of Christmas cards and messages, but I got 4 or 5 of the letters this year from real intelligent kids that really made me feel good. And these guys are all successful, you know, and Rex Beach, 1957, you know, one of the greatest players we had, probably one of the smartest kids you ever had, wrote me a letter that just kind of made you tear up almost.
Coach,
because he felt like we had helped him through life.
Coach, it's amazing, and we talked about, Kevin and I did, how you made such an impact on kids throughout their life, but you deflected a lot of the credit. I'm in awe. Coach for 14 years here at Wyandotte, played for 13 state titles, winning 10 of those. But what are some of your best moments? Obviously, I would guess that some of your best moments are seeing guys succeed outside of basketball.
Absolutely. I mean, that's, you know, these guys like that. And out there, Dick Schultz, for example, 1969, we played Wichita Southeast, had an undefeated ball club, and they had a guy named Randy Canfield who went to KU 6'10", playing another guy named Griffin 6'8", and we never led in the ball game until the last minute and a half. And this guy, Dick, made a basket that tied it up with about 2 minutes to go. Took time out and ran a play, and then Glenn Russell, another kid who went to KU later on, he shot one in at the gun. We beat him with 2, and that was the only ball game that they lost all year. That was one of the of course, that's the last one. You always remember the last thing's best, you know. There's been a lot of other ones to know. We went 5 in a row once, 4 in a row once, another time, you know, and that's hard to do in basketball. It really is.
Oh, because everybody's gunning for you, number one, but number two is it's amazing how your memory works too, and a lot of the great coaches remember those games. Coach, talk to us when they were dedicating this gymnasium to you, and this banner was going down right here. What were some of the thoughts and emotions going through your mind and body at that point?
I really had no idea what they were going to do, you know, and I'm amazed that thing is like that. But as I look at it, I see some of these things happening. I don't know how many high school coaches get gyms named after them, but most of the time they put them on the outside, you know. I think this is real good for this situation because on the inside, you come in there, you can see it, stay away from the weather, and a lot of those. So I really think that's a great opportunity for people to see what we could do here as a basketball team in the state of Kansas.
Well, it's been an honor having you here at halftime, Coach Schublum. I appreciate you taking the time out to come and talk to us. It's been a special night for all of us here at Metro Sports, and thanks for being part of it. As Walt Schublum has the gymnasium here at Wyandotte High School, named after him, and the floor named after Donald Upson. 26-24, Washington leading Wyandotte at halftime. More of Hy-Vee at the half after this. We are underway with the second half and third quarter between Washington and Wyandotte in the Hy-Vee High School Game of the Week. And while we were away, Squirt Jones put it up and in to tie this one at 26. And now the steal by Wyandotte's James Kirkendall is Kevin White, the man of the night, Walt Schublum, and Doug Elston, your broadcasters for this one courtside. And now the steal by Chris Leapart for Washington. They run with Leapart, Townsend, McClooney, Bowie, and Ford, and now a turnover by Washington.
Coach, I have a question for you. In the first half and so far in this game, we have 15 turnovers by Washington and 11 turnovers by Wyandotte. Do you think that's a product of good defense or bad offense?
Probably the offense, I'm sure. Poor fundamentals really put it down to, you know. You see kids trying to catch ball. You know, you got to go meet the pass. And they don't do. They're standing there, you know, and they wonder why it's intercepted. Well, you got to go meet every pass. I don't care, you know, where you're playing or who you're playing with. And that's what I think it makes a big difference. That's way too many turnovers for both offenses. I like to have them about, it's a different age now, but we like to figure on about 6 or 8 in a game when I was coaching high school. At the most, you know. And defensively, we played pretty well. And offensively, we usually a little more deliberate probably than most kids are now.
Foul on the inside on Wyandotte. Free throws coming up for Jesse Ford. Once again, we're joined by Walt Schublum, the former Wyandotte coach here in our broadcast. And Coach, when I talked to you on the phone this week, you said you did not like the three-point shot in today's basketball game. Why?
Well, you know, I'm of the other generation, you know, and we didn't have it when I was trying to coach. And I think it's a little bit risky with it because it used to be when I was coaching in high school, in tough games, and I mean, we used to fill this place up. You couldn't believe how many people we had in it. But with, say, 2 minutes to go, and we're 3 points ahead, these people were up there in the stands putting overshoes and coats on the kid and getting ready to go out in the cold. Nowadays, when it's that way, with 2 threes, and boy, you're out of it, you know what I mean? 2 turnovers, and it just changed too much. But I really didn't like it, but I'm sure the fans like it. Just like in baseball, you know, they like that home run, they like that extra base hit, they like that cheap home run if they can. And I don't, you know, it's a matter of opinion, but I wouldn't win any election on that. You know what I mean? Because all these people, you know, they think, hey, that's 3 points, something else. But we always used to practice. A couple of them were here tonight. Our guards would shoot anywhere from 200 to 300 shots from right there at the top of the circle because getting ready to go against zone defenses. A couple of them said boy, coach, if we had a 3-point play, we'd have gone crazy because they could, if they shoot 209, a lot of them would make 140, you know.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Without any defense on them, you know. And it's just different.
Coach, that's still 70% with no defense on you. That's pretty good.
I'd cut it back a little. But, and of course, also against his own, we tried to move the ball, get the ball inside. And now, about all they think about is shooting the ball. Yeah?
Kirkendall up the floor for Wyandotte, tied at 28. Bounce feeding to Boo Richardson. Looked like they overpassed that time. Now they'll reset.
Going against that 3-2 zone for Wyandotte. Really putting a damper on those guards for Wyandotte. Or Wyandotte really having a tough time getting in the middle of that zone defense, which I know, Coach, is one of the key elements to play against the zone, is get right in the middle where you have options to pass outside of it.
Right, yeah.
Coach was more of a man-to-man guy, though, weren't you, Coach?
Yes, I was. Yeah. When I had, like the guy we had here tonight, Lucius Allen, sometimes we would play a zone just because we had to hide him if we got in foul trouble. But other than that, we play straight man for man. And we used to start every practice that we had every day, right out here in the middle with a half-court, man-for-man press, the varsity against the second team. And that's the way we would play most of the game. Just not trapping or not zoning, but just one-on-one, play the ball, play it out, try to cut off the passes, and that made our defense pretty good. That's about the only defense there we had to run.
You guys forced a few turnovers with that half-court trapping defense, didn't you, the man-to-man?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Jesse Ford now, and good game going. He has 12 points for Washington as they regain the lead at 30-28, under 5 to play in your third quarter.
Extending that 3-2 zone. Looks like a 1-2-2 at this point with the extension. Now dropping back into the 3-2.
Palmer McCurry taking it inside. No. Keith Boo Richardson in the land of the Giants. No. Squirt Jones. No. And here comes Washington back the other way.
Coach, it looks to me like, and not just in that sequence, but it probably told it all. It looks to me like guys just don't spend as much time in the gym by themselves shooting the basketball.
I'm sure that's true, and of course there's a reason for that probably. There's so many other things to do, you know what I mean? If you're just, after all, when you're 15, 16, 17 years old, you know, you like to do a lot of things. And one of them isn't get out there and sweat and work in basketball and shoot like they used to, you know? Because we didn't have anything, our kids didn't have anything to do to play basketball or baseball probably in the off season. And they'd work at it. And again, that's the times, you know, they've changed. I'm not saying it's for the better or for the worse, but things certainly aren't like they used to be.
Definitely true. Another Washington turnover gives it back to Wyandotte. And Leonard Sparkman going to call a timeout. Talk to his troops as they lead by 2. Just over 4 to play in your second half, third quarter action. We're joined once again by Walt Schublum, former Wyandotte coach. Talk about your days in Columbia. You coached the freshman team for the University of Missouri for Coach Norm Stewart. You had a few good players on that squad.
Certainly did. 2 years I was there, 69, 70, 71. And if the NCAA rule had changed the ruling, I'd probably still been there as long as Norm was, because he got me down there because he wanted me to teach his freshmen some discipline, you know. And I think we did that. And then NCAA coming, freshmen are eligible to play right away. So I would have had a job, but it'd been different. So I came back to Kansas City, Kansas, the new junior college out there with AD and coach for several years. But Norm's a great guy, great coach. I thought he was going to be here tonight. Matter of fact, I got a letter at the last minute where he is in this Coaches for Cancer or something like that, and they were having a district meeting for the next 2 days, so he couldn't come. But he called me last week from California. He was there. He was coming on and was going to go to the game. Didn't work out that way.
Yet a lot of people enjoy these festivities, including ourselves. Pretty amazing, Coach, what you've done.
Thank you. You know, I sit here and watch the games. See, I coach, I don't know how many games, a lot of games, but we never had one game televised in all the time I coached those 14 years. And that was down at Wichita. At Wichita East, and they had a gym about half as big as this thing here, you know, and the lights wasn't very good. On Saturday afternoon, that was the only TV game that I think I ever coached on a high school level. And we got very little radio game. With that much radio to speak of.
Well, we got to think that in Kansas City, we're on the cutting edge with the likes of Metro Sports doing a great job of covering all the high school kids. And you got to believe that all the high school kids, including yourself, you probably love to watch these games on Friday nights.
We sure do. We sure do. Absolutely. You have one every Friday, did he? Every Friday night you have a game.
Right.
How long will this go on? The tournament time?
Till tournament time. Throughout the state tournament.
Well, that's good. That's good. That's another thing, you know. Of course, I got to go to a lot of clinics when I was coaching, and I was amazed how you get over in Indiana, you know, and those people were televising almost every game they had, and the tournament, the state finals that they had at that time, they held them in the old Butler Field House. Now, of course, they went to one of those big ones downtown in Indianapolis. But it would be all anywhere from 14 to 17,000. And when you go into the game, people out there scalping tickets just like they do in the Final Four. This is just high school basketball. But everyone had their games on TV. But not, you know, that hadn't happened in Kansas. I don't think the state tournament here is televised at all, is it?
That's what Metro Sports actually does. We started doing that about 4 years ago, I believe, televising the state tournament. And been very successful in doing so.
Oh, I'm sure it would be. I'm sure it would be. Yeah, I'd be.
Washington a 1-point lead in the basketball as they run the set. Down low, they go to money man at Jesse Ford in traffic. Scoring, he now has 14. It's a game high, 14 points for the 6'5" junior. Feed by Richardson inside to Jones, and we'll turn it over on the walking violation.
Boo Richardson doing an excellent job at the point guard spot. This time Boo sees man inside and getting the ball to him, John Jones, who turns the ball over. Defense getting the trap right where you want it, right across the half-point line in the corner.
Leapart missing on the bank. Tony Townsend tries a stick back. No, Leapart once again fighting hard and showing his strength on the inside.
Wyandotte really misses Delonzo Marshall, who's on the bench right now, as Washington is having their way on the offensive glass. Coach, you know that's one of those basic things. We're just boxing out and getting your body on another body and keeping them away from the basket.
Yeah, kids just don't work that anymore like you used to. We used to try to coach them, you know, if we had 3 guys inside or 2 guys inside, and that ball goes up in the air, you got to remove those feet so you can go either way, you know. I think someone you guys might remember in Missouri several years ago was old Rick, the guy that does color TV, Ricky
Frazier.
No.
John Sunville, we know that.
Well, but then this guy doing more radio than he was anything.
Gary Link?
Gary Link. And he was one of my favorites when I was down there as a coach. I had him. And, you know, people just didn't think he was going to be a very good ball player. But I watched him in practice. When that ball goes up, you know, he wasn't stationary. He had those feet going where he could go either way. And, hey, he did that for Norm for 3 years. And, I mean, really helped him win some ball games because he knew where the ball was going. And he was ready to go after it, and he could move and get after it, you know. And that's hard to coach. You don't coach that. That's kind of a natural instinct that comes to a kid. You don't learn how to rebound.
And a 5-second count is whistled on Trey Carter. And you also had Al Eberhardt play for you, John Brown, some of the names from the past that Tigers fans from the 70s or a guy like me that used to live in Columbia would remember some of those guys.
The first team I went with was on. We had John Brown, of course. We had Gary Link. I believe we had Gary then. Steve Blaine, who I didn't think stayed with him too long. And then the next year, we had Al Eberhard. My two guards that first year down there was Orv Salmon and Jerry Stroh. And they were real good, hard-working kids. And we, in 2 years down there, I think we won 23 and lost 2 or something like that.
Wow.
But, you know, I think that freshman basketball is real good. I really think that the freshmen would be better off today if they would play. Didn't push them too hard, rather play on the freshman level and then move into the varsity. But they, you know, NCAA felt differently, and so they changed it. I think a lot of the football coaches feel the same way. They think that freshmen should not be eligible to play. Because when you know yourself, when you come out of high school and go to college, there's a whale of adjustment to make.
Physically, academically, everything.
Everywhere. You know, you don't have mother getting in to wake you up every morning. You know, you got to get up on your own, go to class, and that's hard to teach kids. And so I kind of think it's a good idea to keep it that way, but I don't think you're going to change it. So,
Coach, $1 million question for you. If you were coaching in today's society, how would you coach these kids, and how would you react to some of the situation? Bud Latham's going through a difficult situation right now. How would you coach these kids? I mean, obviously you have to instill discipline, but you have a cap on the level that you can instill that discipline.
Well, frankly, I can't give you a real good, solid answer, but I think probably that as I said a while ago, I never abused a kid, but I'd get their attention. You can't even do that anymore. I find out I do a lot of camps and stuff with kids in the summer, and you have a hard time in trying to help them, and you put your hand on a kid, you only say, get your hands off me, you know? And if you don't, you know, you're in trouble. Monday morning, you're in the Wyandotte County Courthouse or someplace like that, you know? And I think I blame the parents for something like that, because it used to be in my situation. As I said, if a kid had a bad day, and I had a bad day with him maybe, when he went home and complained to his father at the dinner table that night and said, no, the coach did this or coach did that, I know that the fathers would say, hey, you listen to that guy because he's got a chance of getting you a scholarship. And in those days, you know, everybody didn't have too much money. They say, we don't have enough money to send you to college, but if you can get a scholarship, you're in. So you do what the coaches said. That made it real easy for us coaches. That doesn't happen today.
So support your coaches. The parents need to support the coaches more and really believe in what they're trying to do with the kids.
Absolutely. You find very little of that, and you know, I'm sure there's some that still do, but you don't find enough of it. And just like I said when we were out here, we had to sing a while ago, you know, you got to have a lot of help from people, from the parents, you know, and counselors and the faculty and the administration and the city itself. If you don't, you know, you're going to have a hard time, you know, winning basketball games.
Wrapping up 3 quarters here between Washington and Wyandotte, and it's a close one as usual. The 4th quarter is next on the Hy-Vee High School Game of the Week. Ready to start the 4th quarter, and yet another KCK League Classic between Washington and Wyandotte. The visitors by 1, 35-34. And the officials talking to the players before we get going here with the final 8 minutes. And once again, while we have a moment, I want to thank Coach Schublum for coming in and analyzing for us in the 3rd quarter and being a halftime guest. What a classic gentleman he is.
Oh, that was a thrill right there to listen to Coach Schublum, whose insight is unbelievable, and it's obvious by the success that he had over 14 years of coaching here at Wyandotte. That was actually an awesome thing for me, too, to listen to the insight that he provided. What a great memory that he has, and you can tell he could provide what happened per second during individual games 25 and 30 years ago.
Still going strong at 79 as Boo Richardson leaves this one short. And it'll stay with Wyandotte at the baseline. Wyandotte with Clark, Kirkendall, Jones, Richardson, and Jones. Washington continues to play a matchup zone. Clark penetrating and scoring on the zone. Antonio Clark.
What you have to do against a zone defense is penetrate it either by the dribble or the pass. Most effectively by the dribble, because that zone can cause turnovers.
Clark, a double figures game for him. He has 10 and puts Wyandotte back on top by 1, 36-35, a minute deep into your fourth and final quarter from the Schublum Gymnasium on the campus of Wyandotte High School. Nathan Bowie, the three, money. Nathan Bowie with a big three ball out of the corner.
Nathan Bowie really back scraping, trying to guard Antonio Clark. Antonio now handling the point guard duties.
Kirkendall fades and scores. James Kirkendall. Fighting some foul jeopardy. Hasn't seen much court time. Quick move by Trey Carter. Uncontested. Points for the senior transfer from Atchison off the bench. Tough shot by Clark. Rebounded by Trey Carter for Washington. They lead by 2 with the basketball. Trey Carter on the pull-up on the bank. Nice.
Trey Carter with the cone drill going right by 3 Bulldog defenders.
And a quick timeout taken by Wyandotte as they're down by 4. We're in the fourth quarter on the Hy-Vee High School Game of the Week. Under 6 to play in your fourth quarter. Washington, a little surge. Trey Carter providing some money points. Nathan Bowie and Washington back on top 42-38. Carter off the bench to score in double figures. He has 10. Boo Richardson going to work in the paint. Fought for inside. Jones had it. And we've got a foul on the inside on the Wildcats of Washington. Jones has done a good job on the offensive glass tonight for Wyandotte. And whistle the foul on Jesse Ford. That is 3 on him, the top scorer and top rebounder for the Wildcats. We've seen Delonzo Marshall sit down with foul jeopardy on the other side for Wyandotte.
Got a double screen at the elbow, free throw line right there, trying to get cutters. Got to pierce that.
And a timeout taken before the 5 count could be whistled.
Didn't get it.
Didn't get it. I beg your pardon. No, they gave him the 5 count before they could get the timeout. So the Wildcats will inbound from midcourt, leading by 4. There's Nathan Bowie with the left hand. Nice.
Woo. I don't think he knew he was going to do that when he got up in the air, and Nathan Bowie got it to roll for him. As you see some 2-2-1 pressure, half court this time again by the Wildcats.
Bowie 5 points all in this quarter. Kirkendall trying to answer with a 3. Not there, but tipped up and in by Antoine Squirt Jones. He's got 6 all in the second half. Inside Ford. Oh boy, you can't let him catch it there. That's too deep. Jesse Ford, a game high 16. And now a foul at the baseline on the Wildcats.
Excellent job here by Bowie as he's getting out. He's looking to pass the ball. He sees that there's a defender that time, Boo Richardson, who closed the gap. So he has to go up with it in midair.
And the 3 put up and in by Keith Boo Richardson. Keith, starting point guard, 9 points. It's a 3-point lead. Now the strip by Boo. And it's last touch by Bulldogs, so Washington will keep at the baseline. 4.5 to play in your ball game. And a 3-point advantage for the Washington Wildcats, trying to end a 5-game losing streak. And coach says if we can win at Wyandotte, we can really jumpstart the second half of our season.
You always want to do in a rivalry like this, whether it be Washington or Wyandotte. Schlegel's involved in those rivalries too. A lot of those teams really springboard their seasons based upon wins at the other schools.
Mike McClooney misfiring. Boo Richardson a rebound.
Keeping his head up, looking at his buddies.
Stops at the 3-point arch and connects. Boo Richardson. Back-to-back trays, 12 points, ties it at 46.
Perfect place to trap right there. Excellent job by Antonio Clark and Boo Richardson.
And they said Clark and Bowie had a dual possession. The arrow points the way of the Dogs. And here comes the Dogs.
Coach Wendell Moore doing a very good job with the defense. His guys know exactly where to trap. When that ball crosses half court, you can see they really surge on the offensive ball handler and catch him at the right spot up against the half court line and the out of bounds line on the side.
6-0 run by the Dogs. Back-to-back trays by Boo Richardson.
Spreading the floor out right now is Wyandotte trying to get Washington to come out and guard them on the perimeter where they have the quickness advantage, and Washington is coming out. They get the ball handlers in there because at the same time Washington's defenders can cause havoc. As you saw right there by the likes of Trey Carter.
Kirkendall, the quick first step, can't finish. Delonzo Marshall back in there in traffic and draws the foul. Non-shooting foul, the foul on the floor by Trey Carter.
And not setting up the box out of bounds play.
Joe Ford back in the Washington lineup. Leapart leaving for the Wildcats. 3:10 to play. Knotted at 46.
Screen down for Boo Richardson, coming out for the 3.
Three ball not this time, and a rebounding foul on the Bulldogs. Give it back to Washington.
See right there, that was interesting. I didn't know what they were doing with Boo Richardson at 5'7", taking the ball out of bounds. Normally against a bigger guy, sometimes you can't see over him. So it had to be a play specifically designed for Boo Richardson that time to come out for the 3-point shot, as he is hot outside the arc right now.
They whistled the foul on Delonzo Marshall. In my scorebook, that is 5, so he is disqualified from the game. The scoreboard, however, is putting up Delonzo with 1. And now the fight for the loose ball on the side. And they say the Wildcat player was on the sideline, so it'll be Wyandotte basketball. This game is getting a little heated right now as we approach the final 3 minutes, tied at 46.
Does that surprise you in this rivalry?
Not at all.
They will be getting after it here in this last 3 minutes when the clock starts.
Clark the elbow jumper, McClooney a rebound for Washington. Feed it ahead, Jesse Ford takes it to the baseline, takes it to the hole, and they call a blocking foul on Squirt Jones. 2 free throws for Jesse Ford, who has had an excellent night. 16 points, came in averaging 10, and to put the Wildcats back in front.
Squirt might have been set that time for the offensive charge, but Squirt was underneath the basket, therefore giving the offensive player the advantage if any contact was made.
Well, apparently Delonzo Marshall is not disqualified from the game, as he's about ready to check back in. And actually being disqualified now is Squirt Jones with 5 fouls, so we'll have to double check how many fouls Delonzo Marshall has.
This game,
as Ford connects on the first free throw.
This game will come down to free throw shooting as both teams right now are going into the bonus on their next foul.
16 fouls each. Ford, perfect 4 for 4 from the foul stripe. Wildcats back in front by 2. 2:50 to play. Washington looking for their first league win after a close loss at home to Schlegel. Bulldogs, they try to keep pace with the Schlegel Stallions. As Clark to the rack, no. And a nice rebound on the inside by Ford, and he's tied up. Clark ties him up. The arrow favors the team in maroon, the Washington Wildcats.
Full court pressure. We've seen it all night by the Bulldogs. Right there, 5-second call. Excellent pressure by the Bulldogs. Eventually, that pressure will take its toll mentally and physically. Right now, Washington looks very good physically. You wonder if they will ever break down mentally. Washington going back into a 2-3 zone this time, mixing up their defenses.
Ball flicked out. It'll stay with the Bulldogs in their offensive court. 2:19 to play. Mike McClooney with the defense for Washington. Was at Washington originally, transferred to Schlegel, and now back at Washington. There's Delonzo Marshall trying to get a grip on that hot potato. Kirkendall off the dribble. Yep.
He loves it. When that ball goes down on the floor, watch Kirkendall, because he is deadly off the dribble with the shot.
It is a 2-point make for James. Ties it at 48. Near steal by Kirkendall as Ford taking it inside and drawing the foul. Alonzo Marshall trying to take the charge. I'm curious to see how many fouls he's got this time. Now it is 5 personal fouls on the 6'5" junior center, and he will be disqualified. The second dog to leave the lineup along with Squirt Jones. So a couple of starters fouling out for Wyandotte with 1:50 to go, and that'll send Joe Ford to the free throw stripe.
Notice how they both fouled out too. Both of them sacrificing their bodies for the well-being and the potential victory of their team. Both of these guys and Coach Wendell Moore give him credit, because he is instilling teamwork among these guys and hard work.
Marcus Webb to replace Delonzo Marshall. Webb, a junior. Joe Ford to the foul stripe. The man is a music rapper. A 2-shot situation as Joe was fouled in the act of shooting. Short with it, but nice rebound by Trey Carter to keep it alive for the Wildcats, who want to take a timeout, and they'll get it. Coach Sparkman telling his point guard Nathan Bowie, hold on to the ball there. As Clark went for the steal, as Nathan was trying to get the attention of the official on the sideline to call a timeout. He was able to do that. So we're tied late in this one, Doug, 48-48. And seen a lot of turnovers. The offense has struggled at times, but second half has been very entertaining between these two clubs.
We talked about this game coming down to free throw shooting. You see right there, Washington was not very successful at the foul line. At the same time, Jesse Ford is a 45% free throw shooter. Chris Robinson is a 48% free throw shooter. So you know the guys to put on the foul line if you are the Bulldogs of Wyandotte. That is probably what Coach Wendell Moore is telling his troops right now. At the same time, if you're Coach Sparkman, you want the ball in the hands of your guards and the best free throw shooting. And right now, Trey Carter has done an excellent job for the Wildcats from the stripe.
Washington and Leonard Sparkman will have the basketball. 1:45 to play in your ball game. Trey Carter to inbound with Bowie, Ford, and McClooney on the floor. Trey Carter on the dribble, working against Boo Richardson. Man-to-man by Wyandotte, and pretty much man-to-man throughout. Bowie guarded too closely by Clark. And they'll get Antonio for the foul. So it'll be 1 plus the bonus for the young man called up from the junior varsity over the Christmas break to take over the point job and be a starter. Babyface Nate.
He is too. He's had a pretty good game though for the Wildcats point guard spot. Solid there, 5 rebounds, really get involved in the action.
And hit the front end of the 1-and-1. Give it back to the Dogs as Boo Richardson brings it across.
Got an advantage.
Here's Clark to the baseline. And a blocking foul on Washington. 1 plus the bonus for Antonio Clark after the Jesse Ford foul.
Job by Boo Richardson getting the teeth and staying aggressive is the senior Antonio Clark, who right now has to provide a lot of that senior leadership at the foul line, step up and hit shots to put his team ahead.
Jesse Ford now with 4. Good all-around game for Clark. Connects on the front end of the 1-and-1. Coach Moore says he's our most improved player, and no question he's their best all-around player. And hit some clutch free throws late in this one to give his team a 2-point lead as we approach a minute to play in KCK League action between Wyandotte and Washington. Down low, ball flicked away by Boo Richardson, and they'll get him for a touch foul.
If that. That was very good anticipation that time by Boo Richardson. As the ball is going over the top exactly the way it's diagrammed on the defensive end there. Boo, hand is part of the ball, and Boo got, if he got any hand, it was part of the ball on that play.
Jesse Ford to the foul stripe.
Grab by Jesse, step
hitting
up.
The front end. Perfect night from the foul stripe. 6 for 6. 18 points for Jesse Ford. Tied at 50. 1 minute to play.
There's a battle of quickness out top right now. Boo Richardson, Trey Carter.
And a quick timeout taken by Wendell Moore and Wyandotte with 53.4 seconds to play. Wyandotte in possession.
Good timeout there by Wendell Moore, as Boo Richardson might have gotten caught up in the one-on-one game with Trey Carter.
It's time now for our Farmers Insurance Group play of the game. Farmers Insurance can help you get things back where they once were. Contact your local Farmers Insurance agent for coverage that's right for you. Remember, Farmers get you back where you belong. And go back to the dedication of the gymnasium and floor. The Walter R. Schublum Gymnasium and Donald E. Upson Court. What a special moment that was, and what a special game we got going here, Doug. Locked up at 50. 53.4 seconds to go, and Wendell Moore trying to diagram a win.
That's exactly what he's doing right now. He's talking about on the defensive end. Looks like he's talking about fouling, who to foul. You could read his lips there a little bit, but at the same time on the offensive floor, what kind of plays are we going to run to tilt the game back into our favor? Wyandotte has the ball right now, and they want to get a good shot, as you mentioned. 53.4 seconds to go. They're going to be facing pressure man-to-man defense all over the court. You got to take care of the basketball is the most important thing, always.
Boo Richardson and Trey Carter jousting out front. Here's Boo into the paint. Got it knocked away. Jones picked up the loose ball and scores. John Mississippi Jones putting Wyandotte on top by 2, and now bumping foul in the backcourt Clark bringing down Trey Carter. And it'll be Carter who shoots free throws after the hard foul.
We talked about, we know Boo Richardson is aggressive toward the basket. And John Jones staying with it. John Jones has been very active on the offensive glass here in this second half. And that play was no exception as he gathered the loose ball for the easy bucket.
Gave the last foul to Antonio Clark, his third. Trey Carter is 6 of 8 from the foul stripe. He's been good. And he continues to stroke them in.
Trey Carter also showing his senior leadership for the Wildcats. This is where you win basketball games, is at the foul stripe.
One out of 2. Battle for the rebound. And it's taken down by Wyandotte's Marcus Webb. And he's quickly fouled with 30.3. Free throws at the other end for Marcus Webb.
Like I said, not seen a lot of time in this game previous to Delonzo Marshall fouling out and Squirt Jones fouling out. Marcus untested at the foul stripe in this game. James Bush.
Well, we've got 2 40s on 2 different rosters. We got Marcus Webb or James Bush. Take your choice. He connected on the free throw.
Yeah, that's big too. Very pressurized free throw that time. Stepping up as a leader once again and knocking down shots of left-handed.
3-point lead for the Dogs.
Pure.
Carter whip pass. Nearly decapitated the cheerleaders. And it's a turnover by the Wildcats. And a timeout taken by Wyandotte as they lead by 3, 54-51, 21.9 seconds to go.
Trey Carter getting in the middle right there, and you can see the ball is coming right at the offensive player that time, which was
the cheerleader on the sideline,
or the
Doug.
official.
She got one right in the forehead, Doug.
The bottom line is that
that young lady right there.
She was not on Donald Upson court. But that pass was an excellent lead pass. Ooh, the cheerleader did pay attention. She got her paws up to deflect it off the grill.
Good to see she's okay.
Trey Carter did get right in the middle of that defense and looked to be a pretty good lead-in pass to his offensive player who it should have been cutting to the basket. Monstrous free throws by that guy.
James Bush connected on 2, the 3-point lead. The inbounds to Clark, immediately fouled with 20.3 by Trey Carter. So the money man for the Dogs going to go shoot free throws here with 20.3 seconds to go, and the Dogs leading by 3. You really want Antonio Clark at the free throw stripe late ball game.
And you got right now, Coach Moore has done a good job of getting his free throw shooters into the basketball game, as we saw Bush step up, and just a freshman step up and hit those 2 free throws. Clark's already been there. Boo Richardson has experience, just a junior, but he's been there before, and we've seen Kirkendall shoot as well.
All right, horseshoes out on him. Need a 3 to send it to overtime. Trey Carter into the paint, leans up a shot, it goes down. And a quick timeout taken by the Washington bench, as it's a 1-point lead with 10.2 seconds to play in your KCK League ball game.
Watch the contact here on the arm. Trey Carter should have been fouled right there. Trey Carter still with a very good strength and connecting on the shot, and a very good timeout that time by Coach Sparkman and the troops. Now they get a chance to get their defense set, full court man pressure. You have to expect it right now from the Washington Wildcats. So what you do if you're Wyandotte, you've got to set screens, you've got to get people open. That's the first thing, is to get the ball inbound. Second thing is that you've got to expect some contact to be made. Therefore, you're going to the foul stripe, and you better connect on your foul shots.
Don't forget, after we wrap this one up, whether it be regulation or overtime, we'll check in with Chad Harberts, Brad Porter, Mick Schaefer, and Danielle Sargent, and the rest of the high school roundup crew right after we're done here from Wyandotte High School and Shoebloom Gymnasium. Been a doozy here. Game 2 for both these KCK League teams, and Wyandotte a win tonight at home. They'd be 2-0 in the league, trying to keep pace with those Stallions of Schlegels, the KCK League favorites to win it all this year. It's the coach's preseason consensus.
The pressure man going out of bounds there. Very good play, diagram play. Now the contact.
And Boo Richardson fouled by Trey Carter.
The diagram play going out of bounds to out of bounds. Very legal to do so. And then almost deflected for the interception that time. Boo Richardson, one of the guys you want to have at the foul line for the Bulldogs.
88% foul shooter coming in is Boo. 4 over his average.
Good follow through by Boo, exaggerated follow through, and staying at the foul line, not falling away from the foul line, very important.
And they put the score up on the wrong side, and boy, did you see all the hands point to the scoreboard out of the crowd? Now the scoreboard is corrected. It went from 54-54, now it's corrected. A 2-point lead at 55-53 for the Dogs. And Boo gets the shooter's roll. 3-point lead. Clock winding down. And the clock
didn't start on time, so officials stop things.
Good
job by the official. Probably took off a half a second that time. Very good call by the official, and very staying on top of the game. Like a no fouls. Washington does have to have a 3-point shot. Obviously down 3. Have plenty of time to do so.
6.6 is what they put on the board.
Their 3-point shooter is the guy that's taking the ball out of bounds right now.
Trying to clear some of the crowd back so Trey Carter can inbound the ball.
Wyandotte staying back, and they're going to umbrella the 3-point line. The 3-point shooter coming into the basketball game for the Wildcats. Mike Moore.
Moore takes it on the run. No. Put up by McClooney. No. Clock still winding, and it's all over with. The Wyandotte Bulldogs go to 2-0 in the KCK League with a very hard-fought victory over their longtime rival, the Washington Wildcats. It was a doozy tonight, 56-53. Some clutch free throw shooting down the stretch. And Boo Richardson sealed it with a couple of free throws. And the record now 4-4 for Wyandotte. And more importantly, they're 2-0 in this Kansas City, Kansas League. And we will be back to Wyandotte to wrap things up on the Hy-Vee High School Game of the Week after this timeout.
The High School Game of the Week is brought to you by Hy-Vee and their 20 Kansas City area employee-owned Hy-Vee locations, Farmers Insurance, and these Kansas City Metro agents. Contact your local Farmers agent today. Remember, Farmers get you back where you belong. And by KC Bobcat in Blue Springs, Grandview, and Olathe.
Yet another classic on Metro Sports between Washington and Wyandotte here in the Kansas City, Kansas League. And it's the Dogs winning at home 56-53 before a full house on a very special night, honoring the naming of the court for Donald Upson and the gymnasium for Coach Schublum. A fun night, Doug. We went down memory lane and we saw one for the memory as far as this ball game. Very good ball game between these two teams.
Educational night. You saw Coach Schublum. We had some opportunity to spend some quality time with him, but at the same time, whether you look at it, it was either very pretty defensively or very ugly offensively for quite some time with a lot of turnovers by both teams.
So the Washington Wildcats fall to 0-2 in the Kansas City, Kansas League. Wyandotte now 2-0. Trying to keep pace with the Stallions of Schlegel. I want to say some special thanks to the principal here at Wyandotte High School, Walter Thompson, also the AD, Charlotte Davis, also to Coach Schublum, Craig Dillage, and also the Mr. Historian here at Wyandotte. Our producer tonight, Curtis Lorenz. Our stats by Greg Eklund and Ted Boland. Mike Meyer has been our tech director. Tape by Jeff Graham. Video by Jack Knott. Audio by Chris Hampton. Graphics by Kayla Manny. For Doug Elston and our entire crew, Kevin White saying so long from the Schublum Gymnasium at Wyandotte High School in Kansas City, Kansas, where the Wyandotte Bulldogs win it. Final score 56-53. Good night, everybody.